Hello guys, welcome back. This is Jeff Byers and I am teaching Module 3, and this is character rigging, and we're pulling everything together. So I went ahead and rendered my final frame. So what we're going to do is, when we're okay with the lighting, so this is what I actually added in my lighting scenario. So I went ahead and rotated the dome a little bit to get the right lighting that I wanted. I added duplicated this, did a Control D and moved it over and made some changes to this to fill in those dark areas. And so just to kind of get you up to speed with what I have on this light shape of this light, this is another fill. So we have a key, we have a fill to fill in this area here in the face, and then I've got a fill, and then we've got a rim light in the back. So the other fill light that I duplicated over, I changed the intensity to 1. And because I duplicated over, it duplicated all this other stuff, like the use color temperature, which is good because that's what I wanted. But I changed the intensity to 1 and this to 1, and I turned off cast shadows. We don't want a lot of shadows in the scene, we just want shadows coming from one direction, so I think it's really important that we do that. Okay, so that's all I changed in that, and then my render basically looks like this. So I'm really happy with some highlights in here in the face. That looks really good. I'm okay with the highlights on the top of the head. That looks realistic, and right here. Everything looks pretty good. And I can see my base really well now too as well with all the additional lights that I have. Before the base was really lost and you couldn't see it very well. So now it looks really good. So the idea is to make sure that you get a front view, front perspective. Okay, and then a back perspective. So one of the things, now we're ready to do a good composition. So now I know the lighting looks good, so now I'm going to go in here and let me minimize that. Let me get back into my perspective view, and now I'm going to turn off the object real quick so I can see what the heck I'm doing here. Turn that off. Alright, so now I'm going to get my field chart, and I'm going to turn that field chart off just for a second. I'm going to do safe title. Let's just do safe action. There we go. And you can kind of see where the head is and where the bottom is, and I'm just about lined up there. Okay, and then I'm going to line up with the grid. We got 0 and 1 right there, so that looks pretty good. Okay, just kind of line everything up here. I think that looks pretty good. And then let's turn the field chart off and get that lined up again. Right, so that looks good. When you finally get your composition that you want to go to View, go to Bookmarks, and let's go to Edit Bookmarks. You can see I got a bunch of cameras in there already. So I'm going to do New Bookmark, and this one I'm going to rename cam underscore front underscore PERSP, perspective. Click apply and then close. So no matter what I do, I can go back in here to view, bookmarks, camera front perspective. There we go. And so when we're happy with all the settings, the lighting looks really good, the next step would be to go in here to the render settings, crank everything up so you guys can follow what I have here now. I would only turn that up, the SSS up, because that's subsurface scattering. If you add a subsurface scattering to the skin, I I haven't gone over that. If you want to read more about it, feel free to watch a YouTube video. But I will cover it in our second character that we're going to do for Modular 4. So right now I have that set up. Otherwise you'd probably keep it at 2. And then my ray depth is 12, 3, 3, 10, 0, 10. And you can always pause the video to get these numbers. And then the Commons tab, we're going to go all the way to HD 1080. There we go. So everything looks good there. So render settings is all set up. And then we'll do our final render. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in, and we'll do our final render, and I'll pause the video. Okay, here's the result of my final image. This is a 1080 HD. So you can see I've got way better highlights on the top of the head. I don't have any really hot spots in here. To get that, I basically had to turn down the HDRI sky dome, which is fine because the final render looks much better than it did before. Let's look at it before. A little bit too blown out in the arm area here and the hair, and even the teeth were almost like shiny in the eyes. So I brought that down. I'm getting a lot better look. Okay, so backed it out a little bit, gave her a little more headroom on top, a little more room on the bottom, and got everything looking good. So just to reiterate, I haven't changed anything on the lights, but the sky dome I went ahead and turned the intensity down to 0.5 and 0.5. Everybody's sky dome is going to be different, so if you need to have it higher, that's great. But you can't get away from we have basically a 4-point light system. We have a key light, 2 fill lights, and then a rim light in the back. Okay, so that's the front, and then what you can do is you can rotate the camera behind or rotate the 2 pieces together. I would probably rotate the platform if that's possible to get everything put into a locator. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. So from the top view, let's hit the F key and kind of see where we're at. Again, I got to turn off the HDR image so I can see what I'm doing here. I'm going to turn everything back on, show all. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, and now that my character's posed, I could probably take the character, and this is okay, probably take the entire character and delete by type history. And that's entirely up to you because she's already posed on the platform and we want to rotate the platform around. Okay, so the idea now is to take, let's get rid of all the joints. So let's go show none, show polygons, and let's go ahead and select all the polygons. Okay, now the thing is, before you do this, I would highly recommend, if you want to keep everything you have right now as a save, I would go ahead and save everything with the joints and all that stuff, because what I'm about to do is I'm going to destroy everything. I'm going to destroy all the joints and everything. Get that back to where we had it. For some reason the eyes got messed up, so let's see if I go in here and open up my polysurface, my global control, and just move it out of there. And let's just move that out of there. There we go. And select those 2 and delete break connections here. There we go. Alright, so that's good. Alright, so you can see if we can keep the eyeballs. Okay, so that is good. So I pulled the eyes out. Okay. It looks like the ink constraint's on there still, but So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete everything but the aim constraints. So I'm going to go in here, show none, show polygons. Okay. And select everything and deselect the eyes and delete by type history, freeze transformations. There we go. So that is okay. That looks good. And so we can take all of this and we could conceivably combine everything. There we go. And the eyes are still there. Okay. Or you can put it to a locator, whichever works for you. Right, so now when I hit the... Yeah, there we go. So now we're all set. So I'm going to go back in here, and I think I moved in and out here and there, so I'm going to go back to my camera. Alright, so there's the front. And if I rotate the character around to the back, maybe something like that, so we can still see your face. That'll work pretty good. Okay, so I'm going to pause and okay, that's all finished rendering and that looks pretty good, so I'm really happy with that. So the idea now is we've got our front view and our back view now. Okay, so our front view, we want to look at a couple things. So if we go to display and we go to all channels, we see all channels. We go to the red channel, we only see the red channels. If we go to luminance, we see black and white. And if we go to alpha, that's the one I'm interested in. Okay, so the alpha map can be saved out. That could be our mask. But you don't need to do that, because if I go to File, Save Image, I can go into the option box. It's really important you guys know this part, because a lot of you forget to do this. When it's in raw image, what it does is it takes all the color information and the exposure levels at the raw image level. That means that gamma correction has not been calculated. So that basically means it's going to be really, really dark. Okay? If that ever happens when you reopen your image to see what it looks like in Photoshop, it looks super dark compared to what you're seeing here. What you have to do is you have to click on Color Managed Image. Okay? If you do make a mistake and spend hours and hours rendering something and you don't want to go back and render it, you can bring it into Photoshop as a raw image and just go to the exposure settings in Photoshop and then raise those levels up quite a bit, and that you can get it to look pretty good. So to save you the time of doing that, you want to have Color Managed Image is on. Apply and close. And then you can go ahead and save your scene. Now what you want to do is you want to save your image file. I always do this. Save as a PNG. Okay. As a PNG, it already separates the image from the background. So I'm going to call this Emily front. And always put your first name, initial, and last name on it. And I'm going to say this is perspective. Here we go. So that's be our first one. And it should automatically go into, if you set your folder up, into your images folder. So save that one, and then the next one that I did was this one. And I'll set this one, I'll just click on that one and say this is the back. Okay, that. Alright, perfect. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do a quick turntable. So we're going to go ahead and get this back to where we had it.